Our primary election is right around the corner, coming up on March 17th, and Chicago needs election judges. You can help your neighbors cast their votes by going to pollworker.chicagoelections.gov. You do have to be a U.S. citizen and a registered voter in Cook County, but you can earn $230 for your service. Plus, if you're bilingual in Spanish, Hindi, Polish, Korean, Chinese, or Tagalog, then they definitely need your help. To learn more and apply, head to pollworker.chicagoelections.gov or call 312-269-7984. Today on CityCast Chicago, is the number of Chicagoans experiencing homelessness going up or down? Well, it depends on who you ask. Plus, we're recapping the Secretary of Education's visit to Chicago last week and talking about our favorite breakfast sandwiches in the city. It's Wednesday, February 11th. I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is what Chicago's talking about. We are joined today by two amazing guests. We've got writer and professor Dr. Eve Ewing in the building. How you feeling, my friend?
I am great. How are you?
I'm doing very well. It's always good to see you. We are joined by freelance journalist Sammy Smiley back in the building. You were just here last month, but we had to bring you back in. How you feeling, my friend?
I'm feeling good. Thanks for having me on again.
Hey, we appreciate you. In today's conversation, we are going to talk about some stories both of you are very interested in before having a breakfast sandwich face-off at the end. But let's start here. Now that it is officially summer outside, and by summer, I mean we are out of the 3 weeks of sub-freezing temperatures, the longest streak since 2007. And so I want to know, what is something you are looking forward to, an event coming up this month, even if it's just getting outside to enjoy the sun? Eve, we're going to start with you.
I am definitely excited about running outside. You still got to, duck and dodge the slippery parts and make sure that, you don't go down and out, because that has happened to me and it is not fun. But yeah, I'm really excited to run outside and be warm.
I am not an outside runner. I will hit like a quick 3 minutes on the treadmill, but I am happy that it means I can take longer and longer walks before I am like, I got to take my ass back inside. That's my favorite part of just the sun being out a little bit more, that like freezing snap to be over. Is I'm gonna walk outside even when it's cold as hell, but I can only do so long. So I'm happy to get like a real good hour and a half, 2 hours outside. Sammy, over to you. What is something you are looking forward to doing now that walking outside doesn't immediately slap you in the face?
Yeah, I am ready for my dog and I to go back on our walks. She is a very high energy golden doodle, and trying to get her to do little exercises and stuff in the house has been driving me insane. But I couldn't take her outside because my dog does not like to wear her snow boots. And as soon as I put them on, she kicks them off. For my sanity, I need her to go outside. So we did it yesterday when it was 35 degrees and she was fine with it. Sometimes there was a couple of times when I took her out and it was like 25 degrees and she was like, you're funny. I'm going to walk 2 doors down and come back. Yesterday we went around the block. It's 45 degrees today. We might do a couple of walk around the block.
According to the Chicago Coalition to End Homelessness, roughly 58,000 Chicagoans experienced some form of homelessness in 2024. However, the city's annual point-in-time count, a one-night count of the visible number of people experiencing homelessness, meaning those in a shelter or can visibly be seen on the street, reported about 19,000 during that same year, and just 8,000 in 2025. However, beyond the inaccuracy, advocates are warning due to changing federal policy, both numbers are likely to go up in the next few years. Eve, let's start with the changes from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. What's going on?
Yeah, so Crain's reported this week that HUD is trying to add new caps specifically on spending for what's called permanent supportive housing. So permanent supportive housing is housing that doesn't come with any preconditions. And it's really important for folks that need to get stable housing first before they can have any foundation to do stuff like focus on mental health treatment for substance abuse issues, things that are really hard to focus on when you are sleeping under the viaduct every night. And this morning, I was looking at an academic journal article that there's 70 studies, over 70 studies that found that this intervention is really effective in helping people get long-term stability, especially veterans. So in December, a federal judge issued a preliminary injunction to try to stop HUD from implementing these caps and reducing the availability of this type of housing. But it's really unclear what's going to happen in the next couple of months. And, we all know that this is happening amidst the attacks on SNAP, the attacks on Medicaid, amidst an ongoing housing affordability crisis. And we also know that even if those funds do get appropriated, this administration now has a documented history of holding back funds, even once they've been promised, to, punish states and municipalities that don't go along with their fascist agenda. So they've also threatened to withhold funds if organizations exhibit quote unquote racial preferences or even acknowledge the existence of trans or non-binary people. So, in our city, according to that point in time count, which we know is an undercount, over half of unhoused people in Chicago are Black, over a third are Latine. We also know that trans folks, queer folks can become especially vulnerable to housing issues. So let's say that you're an organization that tries to particularly reach out to those folks or meet them where they are. Are you going to risk losing your funding? And, I feel like this is part of this battle we see where the idea that somebody has to be perfect, the perfect candidate and earn basic human rights like housing, instead of understanding that having housing is a precondition that people need to get back on their feet or, just to survive. And I feel like, part of our discourse around ICE and the National Guard and things like that coming to Chicago, it's been very important to offer that fact check that, crime is down here. But that might not remain the case forever because, what are people supposed to do for their own survival? If and when those chickens come home to roost, of course, the narrative is going to be we need to lock everybody up. But this is a predictable outcome when we are stripping away people's housing, stripping away food, stripping away medical care. So that's really something that's just on my mind, that this is a predictable and manufactured circumstance. It's what my friend Dave Stovall at UIC calls engineered conflict, right? Housing is everything. Housing is the first thing that people need, just reliable shelter before they can get to anything else. So that's something that I'm really worried about keeping my eye on.
What's really interesting here is, in addition to like you say, this sort of fast track towards the further criminalization of these individuals, it's at a time in which we're seeing our own city government really failed to have a comprehensive strategy around things like encampments, where by the end of it, you see how quickly police move in to close it down. They say they try to connect people with transitional housing, but for so many, it sort of leaves them scrambling once again after all of their medications have been thrown out, the clothes, the bedding that they've brought with them. Maybe it's a shopping cart or a suitcase. And so you sort of see this pressure coming from both ends. As you're reading through these reports, what are advocates asking the city and the state to do? Because, as they've pointed out in, many of these instances, whether it's the rollback of funding for SNAP or Medicaid, our local and state budgets don't have the capacity at this moment with the current obligations we have to reroute funding to step in for those hundreds of thousands of people who are at risk of losing food, healthcare, and now housing.
Yeah, I mean, and I appreciate you bringing up the encampments because that's an issue that is likely to also get worse under this administration. One of the things that HUD has said is that they also want to set some conditions around distributing funding based on if municipalities are enforcing laws against quote unquote illegal camping, right? And so that's created a situation where these smaller municipalities and counties, they feel like, okay, we have to destroy these encampments or else we're not going to get federal funds. And then where do those folks go? Well, they go to the next municipality over, right? So it becomes a race to the bottom where there's this incentive on the federal level to do this kind of horrible disruption that you talk about, and where, it's like you're choosing between two terrible choices of how you're going to get your funding. And, to your question, how do we fill this gap? If I'm a person looking at a state budget, am I going to think about reappropriating money to, remedy the gaps left as people are losing their SNAP benefits? Am I going to look at remedying the gaps around childcare? Am I going to look at remedying the gaps around Medicaid, right? These are really tough choices that I, for one, have no claim on knowing the right way to do it. In our country, and, we've talked about this many times, we know that we have this narrative that it is your individual responsibility, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right? And so the thing that I'm just really worried about is seeing folks get criminalized and seeing folks get locked up. Not to mention, I mean, you all have talked a lot on the show about the resistance from, the, I'll say some parts of the business community, the big business community against, taxation that would acknowledge
They cry wolf every
oh,
time you
it's
bring
going to be
up
so sad.
bring Chicago home or the
Anything.
sub minimum wage. Like it's
Yeah.
always the head tax that was proposed in.
No, it's going to rain cats and dogs and the city's going to burn down. We're going to have a great Chicago fire if we pass any of these things. And, we also just saw some great reporting from the Sun-Times and WBEZ reporting on all these big corporations in Chicago where their employees are getting SNAP funding. And so they are giving, they are paying people a lower amount knowing that they can lean on our taxpayer dollars to, backstop the affordability, and folks still can't pay their bills. So I just think it's really funny how they talk out both sides of their mouths with that, right? Where on the one hand, they're more than happy to pay people in a way that they know that their basic needs are being not met by their wages, even as they're working really hard, right? And on the other hand, when it comes time to actually tax folks appropriately, that, they're so upset and that there's so much misinformation. As a small business owner myself, I see the way that a lot of the assumptions that people have about how this is going to impact business. The point is, we need to be paying attention if and when crime does go up, if you see people stealing cars, if you see people stealing food, if you see people doing these crimes of survival, just remember that this is an avoidable and created circumstance. It's not just about that person and their, individual life choices.
We can't allow this moment to let our local government off the hook, right? One thing this article pointed out very clearly is during this same time, whether you go by the 18,000 number that the Point in Time report put out or the 58,000 that the coalition put out, Chicago had about 109,000 vacant units during that same time. And so there is other ways to address this, reappropriating vacant units, picking up the pressure on CHA that has a backlog of subsidized housing decades long, continuing to hold the city accountable for choices that were made administrations ago, right, to tear down public housing and things like that. And so I don't want people to take out of this, oh my God, this is just another way the federal government is attacking us. That is true, but they're also exploiting a crisis that is in many ways under the purview of our local city and state officials. We can't just be reactive. We have to be more proactive about sort of building out our safety nets and our housing stock. And two, I want people to see those numbers and remember this is not the time for apathy. This is not the time to go, oh, I understand this is a problem in the country, but it doesn't necessarily impact me. In fact, more of us are a broken arm, a missed paycheck, a company shutting down, right? We've been seeing these Amazons, for example, letting thousands of people go. Like so many of us are that shitty announcement away from doubling up, relying on family, being in our cars, relying on transitional housing, hotels. Y'all, that's all considered unsustainable housing. You are experiencing some form of homelessness. And so we have to see ourselves in these problems as well, especially when it may be easy for us to go, well, I'm not dealing with that right now. Where can you find some of Chicago's best pianists while sipping a mimosa or Manhattan slushie on a Sunday afternoon? Would you be shocked if I told you it's inside a former 7-Eleven? Yes, the venue is called The Checkout and it's from Access Contemporary Music. The next concert is February 15th, featuring Natasha Stojanovska, who's played in some of the top classical venues in the world, but it will be her first time in a former 7-Eleven. And her program is going to be eclectic. I'm talking 19th century French music to new pieces from Chicago composers. And if you're thinking, Kobe, that sounds dope, but it also sounds hella expensive, well, you're lucky. Tickets are only $20. And on top of that, you can get 20% off when you use promo code PIANO. You can do it at thecheckout.org. Solo piano spotlight at the checkout. Beautiful music, unexpected vibes. And yes, they got the adult slushies. They took something from their predecessor. That's code PIANO at thecheckout.org. Sammy, over to you. WWE's Elimination Chamber, its last premiere event before WrestleMania, is in Chicago at the end of the month. A huge announcement for kids across Chicago and, of course, adults like myself. However, just last week, former WWE CEO and current grossly unqualified U.S. Ed Secretary Linda McMahon was in town to far less fanfare. Why was the secretary, whose primary objective, I remind people, is to dismantle her own department, in town?
I just wanted to say real quick, I feel you snapped. That was too good. That was so good.
I appreciate you. I just can't believe we got so many officials who done got a stone cold stunner. Like, what are we doing?
So Linda McMahon was the U.S. Education Department secretary. She was in town last week to talk to students about civics. She's going on this whole tour called History Rocks, and it's time for the country's 250th anniversary. Right. And, this is controversial, of course, because she is teamed up with a bunch of conservative groups. Some that, you all might have heard of is Turning Point USA, and then also Moms for Liberty. Now she's been saying this is nonpartisan. This is nonpartisan. I don't think those groups are nonpartisan, but okay. And she was invited to go to the Chicago Hope Academy, which is a private Christian school on the west side that mostly served Black and brown students. And she went there and, hung out with the students, took a tour of their school, sound like they did some history games during the talk. Media was not allowed to be there during the visit. They were allowed to come after, where they spoke to the principal, Ike Muzikowski. Yeah, and he talked to the media about the tour, what happened. He mentioned that, yes, he did receive pushback from students and parents, which he was a bit shocked by. But he said the whole point of it was for the students to meet somebody that they disagree with and still have a conversation with them. Now, in my reading of the articles that I read from Chalk v. Chicago and WBEZ/Chicago Sun-Times, I thought it was very interesting. Well, probably not interesting that she picked a private school when her department has been saying things about public schools, and that they are taking a hammer to the education department, that they've gotten rid of so many staff members who are knowledgeable, who does a lot of data around public schools. Also, the federal government is investigating CPS for its Black Student Success Plan, all this type of stuff. So I don't think she would have been invited to a Chicago public school. I think what's shocking to me is that there seemed to be a disconnect between a white school leader and his Black and brown school community.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the only thing that surprised me, because in some of the comments that were in the articles, it just felt like, what do you mean you don't understand that there was some pushback? Of course there would be pushback. Do you not see what she's doing? Do you not see the government that she's a part of and what they're doing? I mean, the kids are smart. They're watching the news or looking at stuff online. They know what it's like to have ICE on the streets. ICE was here in Chicago, and that wasn't that long ago. So it's not it shouldn't be shocking that community was like, why are we doing this? All I'd say is that's what happened last week, and interesting to see where else the secretary will go on her tour. That's supposed to be 50 states, all 50 states.
Reading through Rima's report, students had pushed back. They had got phone calls and messages from parents. But what really turns my stomach is this sort of simplified idea, which we hear time and time again, right? People love binary thinking. And so the principle is you need to hear from someone you disagree with. The idea that my humanity is something up for debate, that the humanity of kids being snatched up off the street is sort of a both sides argument. The idea that the disinvestment from the federal government and all the ways we just described is a both side's argument. I want to remind people that during her tenure, McMahon has closed regional offices dedicated to civil rights complaints and investigating discrimination, right? Fired dozens of employees within the federal student aid office. The education department had about 8,000 employees at the start of the tenure. 2,400 people were forced to take buyouts as they try to completely gut the office. She's hoping to offload important work like administering the Individuals with Disabilities in Education Act. And so the idea that this is simply you all should hear it with someone who disagrees from you, it completely disrespects the everyday concerns, the fear that these students and these families feel, this larger school community has been going through and has been forced to adjust to. And the idea that this person who on their own has some really counterproductive plans for the education department, but is working for a fascist administration who sees many of these kids and many of their families as disposable, I think says a lot about who's been put in charge of kids.
So to me, it's like you are a leader of the school, and it seemed like you really didn't take your school's community worries, fears, concerns to heart.
So if y'all been listening or reading the newsletter for a while, y'all know we love a good bracket. We've done most iconic Chicago foods, most Chicago symbol, scariest things in the city. And to be honest, our decisions on the podcast are rarely agreed with the listener and the reader. But a few weeks ago, Eve hit me up and said, Kobe, can we get a citywide breakfast sandwich bracket? And I said, sure, I will pitch it immediately as long as you pull up to help us get it started. But before we get into our picks, Eve, why breakfast sandwiches? Why, of all the things we could be putting in competition with one another, did you want to talk about this?
Okay, I got two reasons. One is personal and one is biased. So the personal reason is, I be late. I'm not a timely individual. I can own that. I'm not a timely individual. I have legitimate reasons, but you know what? Sometimes it's not the best way of showing care to my community that I show up late. And one of the things that is instrumental in helping me be on time when I do pull it off is the breakfast sandwich. Because you know what? You got your meal, like you're good to go, right? If you're running, ripping and running. And so that's one reason. The other reason is that I am the co-owner of Build Coffee and Books in Woodlawn, 6100 South Blackstone Avenue. And I noticed something that you call out all the time on the podcast, Jacoby, that you called out during restaurant week and everything else, which is, there's so many times when folks go back to the old standbys of their favorite things that do not include the South Side or the West Side. And so there is a lot of great food happening. And at Build, we have an amazing breakfast sandwich. I'm not only going to recommend ours, I got some other ones too. But I just think that we need as many opportunities to invite people. If you're trying to get out of that seasonal affective disorder, even if, you're still bummed out as it's over 30 degrees and you're not enjoying the tropical weather we now have, get around the city and try some different things and use our incredible food culture as an opportunity to see some neighborhoods that you wouldn't necessarily see, because I know we're all tired of seeing those same maps of, year-end lists and recommendations where every single thing is, north of Madison.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my breakfast sandwich agenda.
All right, so I want to hear y'all top 3 breakfast sandwiches in no particular order. I'm going to start with an honorable mention, and it's the breakfast sandwich I most recently came in contact with and have really started to love, and it's from the South Loop location of Cafe Deco. They've got a Chipotle sausage croissant. The people are really nice. It feels a little too done up to be like a place I would go work every day, but I do like to stop in and get a mango pistachio smoothie and a Chipotle sausage croissant. It is very good, and I've been enough that they know my order, and that's one of the only things I want out of adulthood, is to have places I go back so much that when I walk in, they just go Chipotle sausage croissant and the mango, and I just be like, I'm gonna try the strawberry pistachio today. Like, my boy, that relationship with me and my local business, I live for that. Growing up, all I ever wanted was to get off work, go to a bar with my friend and to drink a beer and to just go like,
where everybody knows your name. That's
yeah,
what
I'm
you
like,
wanted.
this is exactly what they promised me when I was growing up. You know, no dog, no kids, no house, but a local pub and a nice beer at the end of the workday. All right, so that's my honorable mention. And then my next sandwich is a shout out to Afro Joe's, the Bronzeville breakfast sandwich.
Love Afro Joe's.
You know, in a city full of fancy sandwiches, I just love a good brioche, cheese, egg, and a nice turkey sausage patty, maybe a little chipotle mayo or a barbecue sauce or something like that. But Afro Joe's, the Bronzeville breakfast sandwich, that's in my top 3 right now. Sammy, over to you. Give me one of your 3 breakfast sandwiches.
So I'm going to go with the Goddess and the Baker, their Superior and Wells location. They have an Impossible sandwich. And it's like it's like a sunny side up egg and an Impossible like patty. And then it sometimes have like arugula. Mm-hmm. You can put some avocado on it. And it's all in like an English muffin. It is a bit soft and it does break apart, but I kind of do like the mess of it. So that's my thing. I also order it with a side of hash browns because I put the hash browns on the sandwich because yes, that's just texture is really important. Yeah.
Texture is important. No, couple of my one of my favorites on here definitely got a hash brown on it.
Oh, so we're on the same page. Yes,
I do like abundance. Like I say, Afro Joe's on my list because of the simplicity, but you know, I throw it on there. Throw the little hash brown patty on there, and maybe give me a little small cup of fruit. All right, so far we got Afro Joe's, Goddess in the Grocer. What are you putting on the list, Eve?
All right, I'm also going to go with the recency bias. My number 3, last week I had an amazing breakfast pastry. This is an all-in-one handheld at Fat Peach, which is in Bridgeport. It was so good. And you know why it was so good? It had ham inside, but it also had hash browns inside. And I love hash browns. And so this pastry is delicious. And this is so a theme with all my sandwiches. I like a little sweet and savory situation. And, you know, when I was growing up, when I used to get a sausage McMuffin, I would open it up and put a little bit of jelly on, a little bit of strawberry jelly, strawberry jam. That's still my situation. So this pastry has just the slightest drizzle of ketchup, beautifully placed ketchup on the top. And so that gives you some sweet, gives you your hash brown. It's great. And it's a handheld. Respectfully, Sammy, I think the breakfast sandwich that falls apart on you, that I believe that's disqualifying. That's just me personally. Because if you can't take it on the bus.
Tension, that's the point.
You know, I'm just saying, this is not a critique of Sammy. It's a critique of the Sammy, the breakfast
It's a critique
Sammy.
of Sammy's preferences of Sammy's, if you ask me.
Because if you're going to take it on the bus and it's going to immediately fall apart. Now, my thing also is a pastry, so it also crumbles all over you. So that's maybe keeping it in the number 3 spot. Because I definitely strolled up to the spot covered in crumblies. Not looking great.
I'm going to add to this beef real quick and say that's not a real sandwich. It's a pastry. It need to be in between a bun.
Ooh.
Fair.
Even though
heard.
I love Fat Peach Bakery,
Mm.
and I'm tired of y'all making it more and more famous. It's making it hard for me to walk around the corner to get this. I'm tired of y'all.
So our list so far includes Afro Joe's, Goddess in the Grocer, Fat Peach Bakery. We also got to show love to Bill Coffee and Books and Cafe Deco. The next sandwich on my list is going to take me over to Kusanya Cafe in Inglewood for the Lupe Tabasco. Egg, cheese, and sriracha sauce on grilled ciabatta. And you can get bacon, sausage, deli sliced turkey. You can get ham, and then also some spinach, onion, and tomato. I like a breakfast sandwich that is inching into a lunch sandwich. Like that was my go-to lunch as a kid. Just give me 2 slices of bread, ham, cheese, and I'm gonna load it up with tomato, onion, lettuce, like if it's in the fridge. And so a breakfast sandwich that I can get maybe around 11:30, even 12. I still want my egg. I still want my like maybe turkey sausage or my bacon, but like let's just go ahead and move into lunchtime at that point. And so the Lupe Tabasco from Kusanya Cafe. So Sammy, over to you.
The first sandwich I mentioned was that Goddess and the Baker at their Superior and Wells, and now I'm going to mention Goddess and the Grocer that's on Randolph Street. Which is just to show you that's how like where I be at, just in there. And I be on the green line, just
green line breakfast sandwiches. I like the category.
This one is a wrap, so y'all can beat me up about it later. Again, this might not be a sandwich because it's in a wrap. But they have their breakfast wrap that has like you can get veggie sausage, scrambled eggs, spinach, feta, avocado on a spinach wrap. They have it with salsa, but I have acid reflux, and so tomatoes will bring me down to my knees. So I cannot have that in the order or I'll die. Yeah.
So just BL. Just BL.
Yeah.
No T.
Can't even have bacon, but yeah. I can only have lettuce.
So just L. Just L. Just gotta take the L.
Just taking L's. Only taking L's exclusively. Taking the L to get your L. Yeah.
Eve, over to you.
So my recommendation is not original, it's not unique, but it's just that good. I
going to Kasama?
I am doing the Kasama. I had to do it to him. When you started to say Kasanya, I was worried. I was like, oh no. Look, the Kasama breakfast sandwich is delicious, okay? They make the sausage in the shop. I grew up eating, when your mom or your grandma splits like an Oscar Mayer wiener in half or like a fried bologna, so like, this is I'm meeting my Filipino brothers and sisters across the aisle on the snappy, crispy, sweet sausage situation. And you already know I'm about to say it has a hash brown on it. And it's not hash browns. It's like a McDonald's style hash brown situation.
Like a nice rectangle.
Yeah, it's a great rectangle. And it's brought me to the steamed egg ministry. I mean, I just think steamed eggs, it sounds weird, it sounds gross, but it's not. It's delicious. And it's a really good breakfast sandwich. Mm-hmm. And you will have to wait in the line. And I have waited in the line and I'm not sorry about it.
No, it is good. It is good. And it's funny because my next one, I'm staying on the same vibe because I'm going up to Booney's Filipino restaurant because their BBL, which stands for Bastos Bibingka Longanisa, right? It's a coconut rice cake bibingka bun, longanisa sausage, silky egg as they describe it, cheese, and of course, a fried hash brown. This is without a doubt one of the prettiest sandwiches I've ever seen. Because like on first glance, it kind of got that McGriddle vibe to it, like the shape of the bun. But the idea of coconut rice cake, like a coconut flavor with some sausage, I'm gonna open it up, throw some strawberry jelly on it, a little bit of cheese, like this sandwich is everything I want. I just want hash brown, egg, a little bit of coconut flavoring. But shout out to Booney's. This is one of those restaurants I wish I could get up to more often. It's in North Center off of Western, 4337 Northwestern. And so it's a little ways from me, but yeah, one of those sandwiches, the minute I had it, it had my heart. It just, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And so, all right, back to you, Sammy. What is your final selection for our Chicago breakfast sandwich face-off?
Mm-hmm. And this is where I probably get beat up again about this.
So please don't stomp me out.
My third sandwich is just like, I just walk around the corner and get it. Because I live near Bridgeport Coffee. And so I think that this should count as a breakfast sandwich because it's still a sandwich on a bagel. And I feel like bagels are breakfast foods.
Bagel sandwich, right?
For sure.
When I'm like, listen, it is 12 o'clock and I need something that's kind of heavy, I do go to Bridgeport Coffee, get me like a turkey sandwich on a plain bagel. I know everybody else do the everything bagel, but again, your girl got acid reflux.
No, we love that. Bridgeport Coffee, deli sandwich, 10 in the morning.
Bagel.
It competes. Will that make it on our final bracket that we sent to the people?
Who's to say?
Who's to say?
Who's to say? Only time will tell.
I love you, Eve, because my mouth went to say, hell no. But the words you said, hell to who is pretty easy. So
anything,
hell,
anything.
Who's to say? Eve, our final selection on our breakfast sandwich bracket. What you got for us?
Okay, so I kicked it off talking about this, but I'm going to be more specific. So the little 1 and 2 at Build Coffee and Books It is so good. Many people have told me from Portage Park, from Austin, from South Chicago, they come through and they're like, this is the best breakfast sandwich I have ever had. It is vegetarian, but it has those other great essentials. It has a little bit of chili crisp, has a little bit of honey, it has some vegetables on it, and we serve it all day. And so, but if you do eat it in the morning, if you get up early and eat it in the morning, you don't got to eat again until like 1:00. Which I think is, efficient. So, so come through Little 1 and 2. It's so good. We also on Saturdays at the market have another sandwich that has a hash brown on it called the Early Bird. Honestly, that's so elite. I'm a co-owner of the shop. I don't even ever get one because they sell out so fast. I'm keeping a buck with you. But
that's good though. You don't take one from the people.
No. What type of business practice would that be? That would be terrible.
I also love that you did acknowledge your bias, but instead of just leaning into that, you said, no, I've got compliments from Portage Park to your neighbor. As if you're not a well-known Chicagoan people will lie in your face to. Like, what do you mean? If you love it, I love it. What you talking about?
Sure. Thanks.
You know who you is, right?
You don't live my life, Jacoby, so you don't be out here. One time I was giving away some free books at an event, and an older lady told me, couldn't sell them, huh? Couldn't sell them. So, my people keep me very humble.
If you listen through our list and you absolutely love some of our choices, please reach out and tell us at 773-780-0246. We are going to put together a bracket. We want to include your selections. There are thousands of sandwiches across the city. We wasn't going to possibly hit all your favorites. But again, contribute to our growing list, 773-780-0246. Before we get out of here, please join me in thanking our guest today, freelance journalist, Sammy the Sandwich Smiley. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
We also want to say thank you to writer and professor Dr. Eve Ewing.
Thank you.
Before we get out of here, I got some good news for you. Now, if you needed any other reason to head down the Woodline besides the breakfast Sammys, then I got one for you. The 61st Street Indoor Farmers Market is back for its only February date this Saturday. Plus, there are a ton of other great markets going down this Saturday around the city, including the Handmade Market in Ukrainian Village, Green City Indoor Market in Avondale, Winter Farmers Market in South Loop, Neighborhood Market in Garfield Park, Trinket Fest in Wicker Park, and so many others. Kobe, where can I find the entire list? Chicago.citycast.fm and bookmark our events calendar. We're going to be back bright and early tomorrow. We'll talk to you then. Peace.